Hey guys, Thing Fishy here, and welcome to episode 8 of my in-depth parrying tutorial series. The series that gives you specific timings for parrying bosses and other notable enemies in Elden Ring. For those of you for which the standard blanket parrying advice of parrying the hand, not the weapon, isn't quite working yet. And today we're fighting Commander O'Neill. Now, this fight can be really annoying and rely an awful lot on RNG, but can be almost trivialised by some well-timed parries. In this video, I'm going to show you two approaches to this fight. One that is safe and quite repeatable, and at the end of the video, the other option, which, whilst being far more dangerous, is definitely the most satisfying way of completely bullying the poor commander. So before we get to the actual strategies, let's get the parry timings down. So the first enemy you need to be able to parry are these foot soldiers. You want to parry their overhead swing just here when the sword is right at the top of its swing. Next up for these slightly scarier axe guys from phase 2. You want to parry their axe swing right here, just as their body begins to move forward towards you. Then onto the commander. First we have his left horizontal swing, which can be parried here, right as his weapon begins to rotate. The exact same cue works for his right horizontal swing. His scraping stab can be parried here, just before his weapon touches the ground. The hardest one is this horizontal swipe. Now, there's really not a good visual cue for this, because the animation looks pretty much the same throughout. Although you could use maybe his left foot extending as a cue, I think the best advice for this one is it's right at the last moment of his lunge forward. Right, so that's all the ingredients we need for this fight. Now it's just a case of pulling it all together. Now, one of the things that makes parrying such a good option for this fight is how you have iframes through any riposte animation. So if you parry one enemy, the riposte will give you a few seconds of invincibility from everything else going on around you. This is so valuable in gank fights like this one, and is always my go-to option for fighting multiple enemies. Despite them being so visually different, in my head I see this fight as being absolutely identical to the Shadows of Yharnam fight in Bloodborne, as I treat them in exactly the same way in terms of strategy. So first up we have the safe strategy. Ride into the fight on Torrent. Ride straight past the commander and take a free backstab on this foot soldier as he spawns in. The goal here is to eliminate the foot soldiers as fast as possible, either by parrying them or just a good old-fashioned R1 spam. Now the commander is on his own with you, and he's pretty helpless. Parry his normal attacks and run away from that Scarlet Rot AoE. After a few ripostes, he'll be at phase 2. In phase 2, we get these more dangerous axe guys. The play here is to keep your distance and parry them individually when one of them is isolated and it's safe to do so. Repeat this for all three of them, and then you're back to the commander for a few more parries to victory. Now, this fight will never be completely predictable, but this strategy will always work so long as your parry timing is good and you avoid getting overwhelmed. So what if your goal is not a consistent fight strategy, but rather to completely humiliate the commander for even thinking he can gank you with his buddies? Well, you can do that too. Here's what happened when I first met the commander in my first playthrough. The strategy is simple: parry the commander and use the riposte iframes to keep you safe from everything else. And there we go, how to parry Commander O'Neill. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. As always, thanks for watching. See you soon.